Our first speaker tonight will open his heart and speak about a personal aspect of his life to honor a man he loves and admires. Let's welcome Gil Fernandez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. This speech is dedicated to a man I love and admire, someone whose absence I deeply feel every day, my father. My father passed away in April 19th, 2020, during the height of COVID. He didn't die of COVID, though. Due to the existing restrictions and other family members' health issues, we could not have a service to commemorate his life. We recently laid him to rest by spreading his ashes in the Caribbean Sea in a very private ceremony, but I was never able to talk about him. I am taking advantage of my membership here at Toastmasters to speak about him today. So if for some reason I get emotional, please excuse me in advance because this is all very personal to me. If I had to describe my father in a few words, I would say he was a family man. This is the side of him that I knew best and cherished the most. He was a great father who loved his family above everything else and loved his children with unmatched devotion. He was honest to a fault and set a great example of hardworking ethics and everything that you could imagine. He enjoyed helping others and had a passion for horses and dogs. At one time, we owned 14 horses and had 6 dogs. And, well, all the dogs lived with us, but we had 2 horses that lived in our backyard, too. He wasn't perfect because he, at times, struggled with managing his temper. And he could get tough with anybody, at any time, anywhere. I mean that for real. When I was young, he was my hero, and he was responsible for some of the best memories in my childhood. We were always the cool kids with the toys. We always had all the cool toys, the latest gadgets, because our dad loved to pamper us with gifts and presents. One of my fondest memories of my father was when he set aside a special day for each of his kids. I was the oldest, so I was the first. And he set aside a Saturday for us to do whatever I wanted. And that meant going out to our favorite restaurant, going to the park. He took me to see Star Wars, and of course, he took me shopping, and we shopped all kinds of toys and different things. I really wanted an air rifle, and he got me an air rifle, and I was so happy. To this day, I fondly remember that day as one of the best of my life. As I grew older and more independent, I thought that my dad was way too strict. He had us do chores on a daily basis. There was not a day, every day in the morning before I went to school or I went out to play, I had to have my bed made and my toys picked up. My room had to be perfect. On Saturdays, there was a deep cleaning, and he would have us stand right next to our bed in attention like military, like this. And he would walk in the room and inspect everything. And if it wasn't to his liking, you had to clean it again until he was satisfied. He did the same. He was the same. I always had to wash the cars, rake the leaves, mow the lawn, clean the pool, paint, do dishes. And I always resented that because I always felt that I was doing more things than any of my friends had to do at their houses. At the time, I did not realize that all he was doing is instilling in us good habits and a good work ethic. But as I was that young, I really didn't appreciate it as much. High school was probably the lowest point in my relationship with my father. I felt he never let me do anything. And to a point, he was a little too strict. I couldn't go out as much as all of my friends did. And if I did, I had a very strict curfew. I could never go out past midnight. And maybe on occasions, 1 a.m., but that was it. And it was very strict. If I was 5 minutes late, we didn't have cell phones then. My dad was outside, pacing the street, in front of my house, mad as a storm. If it was 10 minutes, he'd be in the car already, driving to where he thought we were to see if we had gotten into an accident. And when he got back and we were home, it wasn't pretty. There were more punishments, arguments, and resentment. And that particular aspect weighed heavily on my decision to move to the United States. When I went to college and study abroad, I had the opportunity to stay in Puerto Rico. I was like, I'm done with this. I want to be independent. My perspective of my father changed as I got older and started my own family. But there was a specific event when I realized, oh, wow, he's not only my father, he's also a great man. It completely changed the way I looked at him. It wasn't until he retired that I began to understand some other aspects of his life, particularly his professional life. At his retirement party, I couldn't believe how many people were there. And a lot of them stood up and talked about how he was a very important mentor and instrumental in their careers and success. That day, I felt a lot of pride of my father, and I was in awe of him. So I'm running short of time, so I'm going to conclude the speech saying, Dad, if you're in heaven looking down on me, I hope you're proud of who I've become and how I live my life. You were my hero, my teacher, and my biggest supporter. I miss you every day, but I am forever grateful for having the privilege of being your son. Your legacy lives on in the values you instilled in us and the countless lives you touch. Thank you very much. I love you.